Hey everybody, I am Omega. Welcome back to the Day Night Show matches. Today with me we have Covert Muffin and Zero Lambda. How are you two doing?
Morning
Great,
dumps.
yeah. Morning dumps, I guess.
Well, you know,
I
Muffin
could
is definitely okay.
I could use a shower. I like showers, hot showers.
Showers are nice. Not cold showers though.
No, not cold showers.
Okay. Unfortunately, that is the only kind of shower he can have. Sadness. We hope his water is fixed soon.
I hope
But
so.
anyway, we are going to be casting Gurthang versus Probe 1 and brain shutting down. Fade versus Pernef, which is a challenge match. These do not work in series because the disparity in skill is enormous, so they let them play once and then we get them new opponents. But that will be a best of 5, and the first one is a best of 3. Legacy of the Void first, Heart of the Swarm later. So let's get to talking about Gurthang versus Probe. So neither of these guys threw me any for fun questions stuff, according to what I checked in the email. I might be incorrect about that, in which case I will correct it tomorrow when we cast their second match, just in case I missed it. But kind of an idea here, Gurthang is a Protoss player. He's probably in Heart of the Swarm. I would have said maybe gold to platinum level.
Yeah.
In Legacy of the Void, he's in the beta literally gold, which means that he's easily platinum, probably in a full environment. Very skilled Legacy of the Void player, probably the best among all of us right now, I would say, because none of us are playing.
Yeah, I pretty much suck.
Probe has been dabbling in it a little bit. He was platinum to diamond level in Heart of the Swarm. So initially you guys might look at that and think, oh, that's kind of a disparity. Actually not here, because again, it all kind of evens out. Power of practice and shit. We forgot about those. Oh, good! I'm glad that means I didn't miss it. It's totally optional, Gurthang. Don't worry about it. It's just a piece of color, a piece of entertainment. It's not necessary. But so we can go ahead and move into this match here. We will be using the group watch feature. I'm going to pass control over to Zero because basically our driver.
He's got power.
I'm gonna set up. Like I was saying a little bit before we started the cast, I will be casting with Covert Muffin for this first game. And then in the second series that we have later on, I will be casting with Mr. Zero Lambda. So...
Yeah. Do you really... I mean, I was just playing Grand Theft Auto. Are you sure you want me to drive this thing?
Yes.
Drive it like I stole it?
You're the only one that has a car, essentially, is what I'm saying.
Grand
It's not a vote of confidence. It's a using what we got.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Zero's going to be Grand Theft hosting. He's literally going to lock his way into a party and then just be like, hey guys, I'm hosting this party now.
That's right. Party goes where I drive it.
Yeah.
Zero the hero. Okay, I'm done. Alright, good luck.
Okay.
Awesome. Oh, yeah.
Okay, so... Yeah, how have you been, man? I haven't talked to you in a while.
Dude, I've been doing great. I've been missing, like, the StarCraft scene a lot. I've been, like, sort of doing the whole recluse thing where I don't really play with anyone. Like, Gurthang's the only one who I've actually played with on Legacy of the Void, I think. And just, like, figuring out builds, figuring out how units work, and
Cool.
I've been attacking, like, Protoss and Zergs. That's been a ton of fun.
So you've been kind of ramping up for the actual release then, I imagine.
Yeah, exactly. I actually haven't played any placement matches either. I played like 4 of them, so I'm still not placed in the ladder. But I kept on getting placed against like Gold and Silver League players, so I felt a little bad.
Yeah, it does that. Anyway, let's go ahead and focus on the game we've got in front of us.
Yeah,
we have in the top left part of the map here our orange Protoss player. It is none other than Gurthang.
It's got that thing. And spawning in the bottom right corner, shying away from his Heart of the Swarm race, which was Zerg, we have none other than the yellow Terran player, Probe.
So what's your thoughts on that? Like, when you're going from one expansion to another, switching race is a really bad idea for most people? Or is it, like, a viable time to do that?
I actually really like this decision from Probe to actually switch races right during the beta, because while the developers are still figuring out the macro mechanics of the game, there's huge shifts from Heart of the Swarm to Legacy of the Void, so sort of resetting your muscle memory with both the macro mechanics and then also with a new race, I think doing that simultaneously is going to pay off for him in the long run.
Cool.
For sure. Yeah.
So you said you've been playing with a lot of Protoss and Terran, right?
Yeah.
What kind of
No,
strategies
Protoss
have
and
you been
Zerg.
messing
Sorry.
with? Oh, Protoss and Zerg. Well,
Yeah.
what kind of strategies have you been messing with?
So I'm really liking the War Prism changes for the Protoss, and I'm trying to get like a double upgrade War Prism drop play, so it helps you expand to the 3rd and 4th locations. Mm-hmm. One of the biggest differences is that twofold when you start with a shit ton of workers, so establishing gas early is really easy, and then also the expansions actually run out of minerals and resources really, really quickly. So it's important to be able to open yourself up to continue to expand throughout the entire game so you don't mine out your main and natural by the 10 minutes and then are left with nothing. Yeah, so like, and eventually when the game stabilizes out, I'm sure games will go longer to the 3rd and 4th expansions instead of just doing 2 base all-ins, which seems to be a lot of the beta right now. But definitely with Zerg, it's very, very easy, and that's sort of what I've had the most success with.
I've always felt that like that's pretty. I mean, it's just a reasonable starting point when you have a new game. And the quicker strategies are always going to be stronger because the defenses are not fully thought out.
Oh, that's fair.
Like that's kind of the way I look at it. And then after you give people like you give your Reigns and your MVPs and your like your crazy strong macro players like. I'm not sure if Polt falls in this category, but he's pretty close. You give them some time to kind of figure out what they need to do to edge those little annoying early attacks away, and then suddenly you have macro games.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen right away. They get annihilated by them too.
Yeah, this is interesting, and speaking of shying away from a macro game, it seems like Probe is actually opening up a really, really fast factory. Let's see what he's going to be building out of it. I would really love to see some sort of early Widowmine drop because Protoss, of course, has a really tough, difficult time establishing that early detection.
So one little piece of information that you may have just noticed right there, if you're used to watching Heartless Worm StarCraft, is that the Reaper came in, tossed a grenade in there, which did barely any damage, knocked everything around, and then left. The reason for that is these adepts that pop out pretty much 2 or 3 shot Reapers. Like you scout the thing and you run, because if you try to do much more than that, you're gonna probably lose it 9 times out of 10.
Interesting.
So in this case, he actually did it. Okay, it's a little bit overkill, but you got it.
You really want that Reaper dead, Omega.
He's got him. But yeah, the other cool thing that you saw there is that new ability added to the Reaper that displaces things. It can be pretty handy from time to time. Just as a good escape mechanism for the Reapers. It's being chased. It's just like Tychus' grenade, essentially, in Heroes of the Storm, if you like to play that. It does pretty much the same thing. I don't think it stops workers from actually mining, though, which is why you didn't see any interruption on Gurthang's mineral mine.
Ooh, I really like this play from Gurthang in the top right corner. So one of the changes in the mechanics is actually if a gateway or a nexus is not within the pylon warp field, it actually warps in units slower. So what Gurthang's doing is on this proxy pylon, he's throwing down a single gateway. And he's going to be able to use that through the game if Probe is not able to scout it. And it's also going to increase Gurthang's ability to send those counter swings with small warp-ins much, much more effective.
This is actually... I can't remember. Was that changed? I thought it had to be physically touching the pylon.
So the pylon can be a little distance away from the nexus. Like if we look at Gurthang's natural, both of those pylons have quick warp-ins if we pretend those gateways aren't there. But you're right. If the pylon is too far away, and even though the field is touching the nexus, then it will be slow. But it just has to be close enough. Yeah.
Okay. I haven't like experimented with trying to put any distance between the two yet, so I didn't realize that. That's pretty cool. Resonating glaives, we can see that this is a strange thing, like this upgrade. This upgrade has been several different things. Oh, and there's also a drop going up. My bad.
Yeah, so we see Probe here with a really nice drop. This is going to deny mining from Gurthang for a little bit until these adepts are going to be able to clean up. But wow, adepts actually aren't that good at marauders because they don't deal extra damage to the armored units. But now that we have some soccer and the mothership core support coming in, Gurthang's going to be able to clean this up no problem. Probe's going to get it in the medevac, and oh yes, it's going to be able to get away just barely in time.
It's a pretty solid attack. He managed to kill 7 workers with that. Didn't lose the medevac and actually escaped with a unit. Not a perfect trade, not the ideal scenario that the Terran envisions when they drop, but it's not that bad either. However, we've got 3 stalkers and Protoss football players coming out here. Sorry. But basically, yeah, as I was about to say, the Adepts have gone through a lot of changes. They have, in general, stayed a very tanky unit with an anti-light armored extra damage buff of 13 additional damage on top of their base 10. And the Resonating Glaives, that's a new upgrade. In the past, it used to be a shield upgrade. It basically gave the Adept more health than a Roach, if you want a comparison. But that doesn't exist anymore. Now we have an attack speed upgrade. These things hit, well, they hit hard and they hit really fast against Bio.
Oh, man. I'm a little concerned for Gurthang actually moving out here, but oh no, it looks like Probe is moving out his army at the perfectly wrong time. Gurthang is completely posed, and with this Mothership Core, he's just going to be able to mass recall his entire army back home. If Gurthang goes in and strikes now, he's going to be able to deal critical damage, but it looks like Probe might be able to draw the first hit here.
So, at the moment, by the way, both players are sitting on 0-0 upgrades, so that will change in a little bit here. Gurthang working up to +1. Warping a few sentries at home. And we see that Probe also has a Liberator. This is kind of like an air siege tank, except instead of having an AoE attack on the ground, it has a single target high damage attack, probably the highest damage attack in the game, actually. And we might see that in action here, or we're just going to see the attack start. It does have an air attack that it can only use in mobile mode. He's going to back away. So it's a lot of defenses. And I think this is actually just a... Ooh, he's going to push the issue.
Yeah, it looks like Gurthang decided here to actually bring back his entire army. I don't know how I feel about this. Oh no, the Willowmine shots are going to deal so much damage, taking out 4 sentries in a single blow. This is going to be extremely detrimental if Probe is going to be here, but it doesn't look like Probe has a strong enough bio presence that can continue this push moving forward.
Nope. Unfortunately, Gurthang, it does not seem has any detection to actually deal with the mines just yet. So he's going to have to basically remember to avoid those as he goes out and cleans up the rest of this attack. Adepts do extremely well against ground units. They don't do great against Marauders because they don't get bonus damage against them. So if your opponent, by the way, is trying to do some cheeky mass Adept stuff, mass Marauders is the way to stop it. But we got a few Stalkers running in forward here and getting picked off. Oh,
Ooh, that was actually pretty good for Gurthang. Those Stalkers were already dead to rights, and it looks like he was able to burn all 4 Widowmine shots there, being able to deal some extra damage to that bio army. And his SCV's arriving just a little too late to repair the bunker, but it looks like Probe is going to be able to push this back with the defender's advantage that he has established here.
And yeah, like it seems like so far we have a very, very aggressive game being played by both players. And the thing is, this is a lot more normal these days on Legacy of the Void. The attack is returning with some more Adepts and a couple Stalkers. Again, the Adept's biggest weakness, really, obviously, is the fact that it can't shoot up. I mean, at a certain point, if you're over-relying on Adepts and your opponent manages to transition to air, you are in a lot of trouble. Like, a huge amount. You won't have a lot of Stalkers, but at the same time, they do have a lot of ground damage, so you can see if they can, even with that caveat, they can get into a mineral line, they just evaporate workers.
Yeah.
Fast. They also have this crazy warp teleport ability that we're actually not seeing used here at all, though in this situation, it might be the worst thing.
Oh yeah, and it looks like just now Gurthang is able to get up an Observer here, and he's going to spot these Widow Mines at the front of his base and use these Stalkers to be able to clean them up. And while he's sort of setting up a nice little barricade outside of the front of Probe, the one thing I am concerned now is that we're hitting this 10-minute mark. The main is getting desperately low on minerals for both of our players here in this show match. And oh my god, look at this. Oh, the Burrow is going to be able to pick up a single Stalker at Gurthang's front. This is a very, very nice micro coming out of Probe. But it looks like the Widow Mines.
While it isn't bad, I think the big picture strategy on Gurthang is a little bit more solid right now. As you can see in the top right, he's actually securing an expansion. Oh, okay, and he does get the mine. Something to talk about with that, actually, is compared to Heart of the Swarm, they actually improved the hit scan radius of units. What that essentially means, without going into technical detail, is that if one unit is hitting a target at its max range, it won't get pushed into the enemy's range by units behind it anymore. They'll actually go around it and set up correctly. So your Stalkers won't kill each other around mines. And that Observer died an unfortunate death. Here comes the attack.
I really like what Probe's doing here. He's running in, dealing a little bit of damage, picking up a few free units, and then diving back out. But like you said, I really like Gurthang's advantage here with taking this expansion, but he has to be so careful with this army. While he's spending his money to reinforce his base, Probe is going to be spending this money on army units instead. And this bio tank Liberator army is starting to get critical mass. But oh, here comes the bio from Gurthang moving in on the front of the Terran. But unfortunately, is going to be picking off a lot of those gateway units and then just backing off.
He doesn't really have any kind of appropriate range or real response to these Widowmines. He just walks in and he's taking a lot of damage from it. It cuts off every single attack he's made so far. And now there's Liberators, and with their incredibly powerful single target damage on those two areas, they pretty much deny the Protoss ability to walk in there without some additional support for these gateway units.
85 damage? Holy crap.
Yeah, they
so much
are strong.
Oh my god.
Granted, they can't move, but if those things set up on top of you, there's like this big red circle that appears on top of your army when you're looking at it from the gameplay perspective, and you run. You don't stand under that crap. You might do it once, but you lose your army and you don't do it again. Well, there it is. See the yellow version of it right there.
Wow, look at this positioning here. Coming out of our Terran player, I really like this. Shutting down the choke point of the ramp. Oh, Gurthang! Gurthang moving into this Bioforce, but he's going to be very cautious moving around these Liberators. Oh, boy.
Oh, setting up another one, but it looks like Gurthang is going to engage under this. And you can just see how quickly it really rips apart units. He did a decent job with the army right there, and if the Liberators weren't there, he might have traded at least a lot better, but as you can see, doesn't kill all that much.
Man, 5 medevacs just constantly working on those Marauders. These Marauders are really, really paying off for Probe here against this Adept-heavy army of Gurthang, because even though we see that the Adepts deal 25 damage versus light units, they only deal 11 damage versus Bio, and just looking how tanky the Marauders are with 125 hit points each, it's no surprise that Probe has been able to sustain with this Bio play with these medevac support.
Kind of what we're seeing here is that it looks like Probe basically sacrificed an economy edge in order to gain a tech advantage. And basically, Gurthang's pretty far behind. He doesn't have Disruptors. He doesn't have Colossi. He doesn't have anything to really deal with a really large ball Bio, especially if it has a lot of Marauders in it. Just tank the shots from the Adepts, and it will cut everything down. With this Liberator support, he can't really engage this army. Probe is sensing this, which is why he's starting to posture on the side of the map. He's looking for the third, and is not finding it, but I think he is going to find this fourth base, essentially, that was just constructed just over.
Oh, yeah. And I love this decision from Probe to get these siege tanks up, but oh my goodness, he needs to move them up and start sieging up the third, because Gurthang's Observer is going to see this, but the siege tanks are too far back. Nice placement from the Widowmines, though. This might
nice.
Ooh, nice pickup.
Yeah, it's the Observer this time, so he's able to cut off the Widowmine shot. And you'll notice one other thing about the Liberators, they don't shoot buildings. So they're similar to a siege tank, but they don't serve quite the same purpose. This army is going to charge in here and push this down. The reason I point that out is if it did, he'd be taking an incredible amount of damage back home while this is going on, but it's not happening. Instead, Probe's third is getting cut off, and okay, now he's moving into the attack. So you have a base race scenario essentially starting.
Oh, the mass recall! Oh my god, from Gurthang, he's going to go down at the third base. Maybe he's going to try and warp in units and do a pincer assault here. Oh, Probe's going to move up the bio and see that there is a gateway heavy force, and instead try and dive into the main. No,
he's got to focus these
goodness.
Liberators down, though. He can't fight under them again. It looks like that's going to... Well, okay, he's going to blink under one of them, go for it. The other one's still alive. He's going to take that out. I actually think he might... Oh, this is going to be kind of close. The Adepts might be the units left here, but here comes a big warp in of Adepts on the back of it, and really nice flank, and he's going to be able to cleanse.
Oh my goodness. Tanky units versus tanky units. These medevacs dealing so much damage in terms of support. This is really allowing a Probe to buy additional time to be able to reestablish this third base. But just looking at Probe's economy, it's starting to get desperate now. Probe has no minerals in the main, no gas in the main. He has 2 gas geysers established as natural, but these 3 mineral patches are all that's left. He is forced to try and do some sort of long-distance mining. Now he's bringing back this medevac and trying to set up a siege tank in order to set up a nice position. But without the Mothership Core, Gurthang is also quite vulnerable here up at this hidden base, throwing down some force fields. But oh my goodness, the bio presence is so strong here, and Gurthang's going to be running in with some Adepts and Stalkers.
Probe, unfortunately, for Gurthang, does have one enormous advantage at the moment. Despite all the other things that have lined up right now, he has about a 70 supply army advantage. So yes, he might not be able to refill very easily, but he may not have to at the rate that this is going. If he can get across the map and do a lot more damage than just this. I mean, he's cut off this original third base for Gurthang. He's dealing the damage to a lot of the army, but he might... Let's see if he actually recognizes how ahead he actually is. He's 86, army supply to 6 right now.
Wow. Yeah, Gurthang pushing his advantage with the economy lead just by like playing like a Zerg, right? Just getting up bases and trying to throw low-tier units again and again at the Terran army. But it seems like Probe is starting to reach critical mass with his army and be able to trade extremely effectively and efficiently. And now just look at this siege tank count. He's up to 7 siege tanks. With these 8 medevacs also being able to pick up siege tanks in siege mode, Probe is going to be able to do some really, really nice micro.
It looks like Gurthang's next step in his build is to go up into Immortals, which is an interesting choice. You can see that if you look at their unit card, they have a barrier ability now instead of this thing that just cancels out all high-level damage. It works a little bit different than it used to. I think it's auto-casted based on when they get shot. So there's still a decent response to the siege tanks, but he doesn't really have that many of them, and no one's here a bunch of sentries.
Uh-oh, Gurthang does not want to take an engagement here. Unfortunately, he's going to lose all of those extremely gas-expensive sentries. Oh.
He just doesn't have much at all. I feel like maybe, he's just kind of mined out everywhere and he doesn't really have any minerals. So he can't refill his army.
Oh, no.
Just this one base is mining. That's it. The same kind of goes for Probe at the moment, but he doesn't exactly need to do much. He doesn't need to build much at this point.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, Gurthang laying down the photon armor charge. It looks like Gurthang was not able to supply an army quick enough here, and now Probe is on the offensive, bringing these siege tanks down into a siege mode. Makes it impossible for Gurthang to try and attack this bio army head on. So Gurthang's going to lose the 3rd base and lose all of his mining. Gurthang now is not mining any minerals and is going to lose the grand majority of these probes. Oh my goodness, and now Probe's bringing up a single medevac into the main to shut down the production. He's going to be able to catch this juicy Immortal. No, the Immortal's going to be able to waltz Jazzercise away.
There's a second Immortal now out. He actually can fight this army in theory, just not directly. As long as he gets away from the siege tanks. At the same time, there's a drop in the main. Starting to cut off some of the additional production that still exists for the Protoss, but money is pretty potent, actually. At this point, Probe just needs to somehow win a fight. If he can win this fight, he can try and restabilize and try and rebuild. But the reality is, I think Probe's starting to realize, okay, my opponent doesn't have anything. If all he's got is his natural and his main, he's not mining anywhere else, then I can just build an army.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's kind of interesting. We see a flip-flop in situations where Probe actually has some economy, and instead Gurthang now is the one being shut out of being able to take an additional base. Oh my goodness, up to 13 siege tanks now. Probe recognizing that Gurthang is not mixing in any air into his composition. It looks like these armies are going to meet on the bottom side of the map. Gurthang, Stalkers, and Zealots starting the engagement. Well, it looks like Probe wants to try and siege up into position before he begins any sort of engagement. Here comes the rest of Probe's bio army. Oh, there go the siege tanks starting to get sieged. And now Gurthang is saying, I have to engage here. Running into his army, but look at this siege tank splash, and Gurthang's going to tap out. GG, first game going to Probe.
That was a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Action.
Yeah, there was so many engagements there all the way across the map, and I'm really liking what Blizzard's doing here, giving that extra boost kickstart to the economy at the beginning of the game. It seems like both players are really, really trying to either go for early tech advantage or go for an early sort of aggression. I'm really, really enjoying that.
Have you ever actually gone back and have you ever watched any Brood War games?
Yes.
That's kind of what they feel like.
Yeah.
It's like a fight starts and then it just never ends, basically, for the entire game.
Yeah.
And I was like watching, and the entire game is like 45 minutes. So it's like, it's grueling. I kind of like this is like I feel like this is a good halfway point between the two styles of play that we've had from Brood War and then from StarCraft 2 in the past.
Yeah.
Exciting. Without being like utterly exhausting at the same time.
Right. It's really interesting, too, because in Brood War, the max control group size was 12 units, and you could not control group multiple buildings.
Yeah, so you had a micro movement in addition to your fights.
Right, so, like, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness.
I'm glad that's gone. I'll admit it.
Oh man.
Not a fan of that, really.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. No, that is a really good point though. I am enjoying this nice sort of equivalent balance. I'm also enjoying how quickly bases seem to get starved on minerals. It's sort of dissuading any sort of very high turtleish play and sort of favoring the more aggressive play to establish map control. It's really, really cool to see, especially watching these show matches here.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you can see why, like, every time anybody sends in a Legacy of the Void game, I just get excited. Because it's just like, it's either going to end immediately or it's going to fight. There's going to be, like, 15 minutes of fighting. And it kind of feels like when we cast Heroes, honestly. Like, which, it's the same sort of thing. There's always, like, we didn't have to kill time, basically, at all.
No, boom. Yeah, it was actually really interesting. This is actually my first time ever casting a Legacy of the Void match. It was awesome. Like, we were like doing like really nice converses, like, oh, what have you done, Legacy of the Void? It's like, well, actually, we need to pay attention to the game because people are already starting to fight at like the 3-minute mark. It's like
if I knew the builds better, you could actually start casting like the game itself even earlier. You could be like, he's probably going for this, and like you actually have that conversation immediately. But I mean, once the action gets going, I mean, we don't even get to think about it really. It's a lot more. There's just a couple minutes for everybody to kind of get going, and then boom.
Yeah. So how about you actually? Because you asked me, but I would really like to hear from you. What have you been dabbling at all with the new Legacy of the Void things? Have you been favoring one race over another?
I haven't really messed with Tyrann Zur just yet, though that actually is my intention once the game comes out. Mostly over the last week, like 2 weeks. I've always had that kind of desire to really get a lot of the achievements and kind of get further with some of the campaign stuff than I did in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But I, like, never did. So I was like, I'll just take time to do that.
Yeah.
Especially because, like, it is a little bit weird when stuff's, like, being updated and changed all the time. It's kind of like, I figured I will get into this more later. Plus, I had other stuff going on, so...
yeah.
Kind of doing the same thing, taking the opportunity to go into other stuff, but...
Yeah, that's cool. That being said, though, guys, it looks like we're jumping now, spawning in the top left portion of the map. We have going down 0-1, but looking to try and tie up this series, the red Protoss, Gurthang. Got that thing.
And in the right side of the map, here we have our yellow Protoss player this time. It is Probe from Clan Day 9. So here's the interesting thing about this, in case any of you have ever wondered. We do actually allow people to switch races between games. It's considered fine because if you're not paying your main race, you're probably playing worse anyway. The only place where this can turn into a problem really is at the highest level of play, which none of us are. So we allow random, we allow race switches. If you were both grandmasters, I might request that you not do it. Because I don't want to deal with people getting salty. But, like, otherwise, it's not that much of a thing, really. And, like, literally, I would say maybe one person that I can think of really would even have the ability to get away with that in an effective way. Which is why I found it hilarious that new Overwatch character that they announced who was a former StarCraft pro is apparently random and undefeated for 3 years.
Wow.
Because if you could play all 3 races that well, and you could play random that well, no one could prepare for you. It literally would happen.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness. Looking at the game, though, we see some interesting things going on. It looks like Probe is actually going for a double gas opening, where Gurthang is going for the 2 in a single gas geyser, and then taking an early expansion. And of course, Probe is actually going to be able to see this. So let's see if Probe is going to match Gurthang's economic pressure with an expansion. But no, we see the proxy pylon go down in a hidden spot, and Gurthang doesn't look like he's going to be scouting over there anytime soon, sending over the probe. But once he sees that probe has not picked up an early expansion, looks like his probe is heading directly for that. I'm really excited to see what probe does.
This might be a setup for a fast gateway attack.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I've seen something like this before. The fact that he's turned down 2 gateways. What's the third building? Oh, it's Stargate. Okay. Stargate and Twilight Council. Actually, going both is a little bit surprising.
Yeah, that is kind of surprising. The double gas usually only allows for one tech path to be chosen, but we'll see exactly what Probe has in mind. He definitely wouldn't be doing this if he didn't have a transition.
No, and his ground forces looks like Zealots rather than Adepts, so it sounds like he wants to push all of his gas into air and upgrades.
Yeah.
I guess Charge. Charge would make sense, because this thing now exists where Charge also gives you +8 on the first attack, basically.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm doing a charge lot build. Oh, you see the Oracle.
But it only on the first attack. It's just the initial charge. So in the past, they actually dabbled with that being like really obscenely high, like 30 damage. It made Zealots like the most powerful core unit in the game. It was ridiculous. That got taken out pretty quick.
Oh man, I love.
But basically, so like when you do charge in this game, like. I'm sure we're all aware. When you initially hit, there's a basic attack that occurs immediately. I'm using Heroes terminology for some reason, but there's basically +8 on that initial attack, so it's like you attack 3 times. By the way, an Oracle is weird.
Surprise! Man, this Oracle definitely is starting to chew through workers, being able to pick up 7 probes immediately, and oh no, the pylon is out of range, and he's gonna pick up another one, but oh my god.
So we got 10 workers out of that, which is extremely good. But, I mean, basically what it does is it lets Probe catch up while having a tech lead.
Yeah, this is absolutely...
Oh, gosh.
This is absolutely amazing for Probe, because in this situation, the most important question isn't to ask whether who is ahead or not, but also the question of, am I behind? And Probe is really showing here that he is not behind, picking up more and more workers. He's going to be able to keep these Oracles alive for the rest of the game and keep them as an able threat. Not only this, but because Gurthang went for an early economy, the one thing he's short on is tech. Getting cannons, getting this mothership core. He's forced to spend his resources in defensive static defense instead of those offensive units. So Probe is absolutely going to be able to establish mid-game map control.
So what we're looking here is a very interesting situation because it's this map in particular. As many of you realize by now, this map has structural similarities to Scrap Station. It is quite a bit bigger, but basically like that map, it is incredibly hard to have a third and a fourth here without aggression at the same time. I really like what Probe's doing because it actually sets up the possibility of getting more bases quite a bit easier than what Gurthang is going to have to deal with crap flying all over his base and having to spend extra on static defenses. Pretty much, this is actually enabling him to eventually go up to a big army in some way. Whereas he really wouldn't be possible on this map to do it without doing something incredibly cheeky, like hiding a base on the island.
Yeah.
But you basically, yeah, this kind of play is also just extremely strong here because there's 3 entrances to the natural. It makes holding it very, very, very difficult.
Oh yeah, and here we go. Looks like Probe is starting to warp in gateway units. We see a little Stalker skirmish here. Probe doing some really nice blink micro here with these Stalkers and revealing that he has also established early blink. And oh, blinking forward into the cannons and also a pylon's been charged. I don't know if that was worth it.
It wasn't hugely... Yeah, that's definitely not ideal. But Probe does actually have an 18 supply lead. It looks like that is tied up somewhat in army supply. Their worker supplies are also a little bit different, 7 ahead for Probe. So he's starting to really stretch out there a little bit.
Ooh, hello, Void Ray. It looks like the entire Protoss army now is extremely scared because a single Void Ray is actually amazing as long as you keep it alive. And having this small gateway support that Probe has with it is absolutely going to help. And these 2 Stalkers here in the bottom right aren't actually doing anything, so I would love to see Probe actually rejoin this. And it looks like he's also going to be building an extra Void Ray upon warping in extra units at Gurthang's front. And just now we see Gurthang throwing down the +1 attack. It looks like he's saying, I'm going to stay on the defensive. I'm going to try and slowly eke out my economic advantage and stay alive versus... Woo, my ears. That's okay. That's alright, guys. So we have...
Oh dear.
Blah.
You technical. Hang on just a second here.
Okay.
Let's
Do you
go
want
ahead
to
and pause this.
it?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. We're having a little technical difficulties. Oh, my God.
Bear with us just a second.
Oh, man.
Okay. So, sorry about that. That has only ever happened one other time. And I think it basically static charge built up on my mic when I was getting up to shut the door.
Woohoo. Sorry, didn't mean to server meet you off the bat, but holy crap.
I apparently can't unmute myself as an admin if you do that.
Oh, yeesh. Okay.
Oh,
I'll remember
whoa.
that. There we go.
Ultimate power.
He's the server owner, so you can... That restriction does not exist.
Actually, I'm
Well,
not.
Oh, no, on this one. Okay, wait. Then I was probably clicking on the wrong thing, because I should be able to unmute myself in this
Weird.
situation.
Well, either way, it is fixed now, and that's good.
Yay.
Alright, just let me know when you're ready to continue. I'll pull the overlay off
Okay,
again.
let me make sure. Did I kill anybody? That sounded like a hurricane. Okay.
Check the chat.
I see it. I see it. Everyone was fine, and then, like, dots. Hurricane just hit. Ouch. Okay, sorry about that.
Is Omega okay? Is his house still
weird-
standing?
What's weird about that is that last time that happened, it was like some sort of thing where I took my headset off and it like rubbed on my jacket, and then I like slid across the floor in this room is carpet.
Oh
so
my goodness!
I slid across the floor, and that's what happened. It did something like that. It doesn't happen. Last time this happened was like half a year ago. So sure. Unfortunately, it sounds like I still have people talking outside the door. It'd be nice if you could not do that. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah, we should be good to go. Sorry about that.
Game resumed.
Ooh, yeah. Jumping back into the game, guys, we see that Probe is still staying in an offensive position. He's going up to 3 Void Rays right outside Gurthang's base while Gurthang's trying to get a Gateway Army advantage because these Void Rays are quite useless without Gateway support. And here we go. We see Gurthang engaging directly in. Nice focus fire on the Void Rays to take down the high DPS unit first. And Gurthang has so many Stalkers here that he's going to be able to completely decimate this force from Probe. It looks like this defensive position of Gurthang really paid off for him.
Well, yep, he's able to cut down the entire force of Probe and he's able to hold up critical attack. Now looking at a minor army supply advantage for Gurthang, but it really comes down to kind of how he's able to build this up as the game goes on. Last game we saw a little bit of a... It seemed like his game plan really only extended to the big game. It's just getting that decent gateway-sized force, and then he kind of teched up a little bit too late. We'll see if he ends up playing this PvP a similar way. I like what Probe is doing here, though. He's got this Oracle alive. He's going to use this to draw Gurthang back into his base and prevent him from running across the map and killing all of his stuff. At least, ideally, he should, but he's attacking a completely useless target at the moment.
Attacking the third Nexus is actually dealing a pretty good amount of damage. Gurthang's absolutely going to pull back his entire army to deal with a single Oracle.
Yep. He bought himself a few seconds of time where he could have potentially bought himself minutes of time by killing one worker and then running away. Oh well. I guess he actually didn't have any vulnerable locations. Now that I see he's got like 7 cannons spread out all over the place.
Wow. That is a lot of minerals. Oh my goodness. With that being said, Probe looks to be continuing to build off of this Stalker army and go up to Immortals, where Gurthang is going for that charge upgrade. I really like this decision, and also getting Immortals himself. Ooh.
So by the way, it looks like we are also seeing a situation where Probe's just got a much stronger economy, nearly 10 workers ahead.
Wow.
And as a result, he's already refilled to the point where he could fight as a quote-unquote even battle. I mean, he did do the typical Protoss desperation, build a giant amount of Stalkers thing. which is okay, but not really ideal either. But he's got blink, so it's not that bad.
Interesting. And also out of Probe, what I really, really like to see is that he has so much gas in the bank. He could easily transition to this to any amount of either Archons or go up to some really, really tech-heavy unit.
Okay, so he's going to blink onto the high ground here. And thing is, Gurthang got a lot of time to respond to that, but for some reason there's just this, like, there it is. Okay, cool. He's able to kill a Robo. He's going to have to start blinking his units away, or he's going to lose everything. Oh, retargeted it. Almost got it. Too bad. So he loses a Robo for about 3 Stalkers in trade, roughly. Not a bad move on Probe's part. I mean, I think that that buildup of tech would have really been what he was most afraid of.
Yeah, and I really like this too. He says, I'm going for the mass immortal counts. I see you already have immortals, so I'm going to target down this Robo facility and use my double Robo advantage over you. So he's churning out 2 immortals at a time, whereas Gurthang has lost that production. But let's see, Gurthang is actually trying to move out across the map to try and engage this army.
That's how they should go! Oh no! Oh, he wanted that.
Gurthang's going to be so susceptible if Probe decides to throw in some sort of counterattack here with his army. Gurthang has no cannons at his third base. It's completely negative. Probe recognizes this. He might be able to take a huge advantage. That would Gurthang,
to be honest as well, there's no blink in Gurthang's army with well, he wouldn't even need 4 immortals, so this should just die.
Holy crap.
I don't think he has anywhere near enough to deal. Oh, okay, by the way, we can see the differences in the new version of Time Warp. It's much bigger, but casts much slower.
Interesting.
Not a fun time for the Red Army.
Oh, nice target fire on the pylon there from Probe, and now we see this engagement going away. No Guardian Shields coming out of the sentries, instead throwing down a couple of force fields. But wow, there's not so much gateway assistance, but here come extra zealots to try and back up these immortals. And with the stalker heavy army out of Gurthang, it looks like Probe is going to be able to push this back.
And he did get some zealots onto the immortals, but with that kind of auto-activate shield ability, they were really able to tank that for a few seconds, which is an interesting thought. You don't really imagine immortals doing, like, even surviving at all against zealots, but I guess that's a thing now. So,
wow, yeah.
Okay. Gurthang might lose the rest of his army if Probe cuts to the left.
Oh no, looks like
what he's doing.
Oh, here it comes.
Warping units. Oh, so slow. 16-second warping.
Wow.
By the way, this is all in real time now. There's no Blizzard time.
Oh, yay! Oh, thank goodness. Oh, that's good.
Oh my goodness. Which way is he gonna go? Toward the jaws of the enemy or toward his fist?
Oh, great. Trying to find an
him.
angle to be able to escape.
He's gonna escape with some stuff. That's actually pretty decent juking on the part of our red player.
Yeah,
I think
nice.
he would get away.
Decision. Oh my goodness, but Probe looks like he recognizes his advantage here. He's going to try and push forward, push into the loving embrace of his good friend and opponent, Gurthang. Looks like Gurthang's still trying to repopulate with a gateway heavy army, just now establishing that Robo Bay tech, but I'm afraid it's a little too late with this huge gateway immortal army coming from our yellow Protoss. That's threatening his front.
So warping his zealots is going to help out a little bit here, but we are looking again at the massive tech advantage with the yellow player. Just all these immortals are going to really chew apart these stalkers if they're targeted properly. Blinking in, a little bit of a bad move, I think, on Probe's part, but it looks like he can afford to actually trade somewhat badly here, as the immortals all survive. Now 5 of them alive, and most of the defenses are in the form of buildings, which is happening to be fairly decent against. Looks like he's going to back off, refill. As the zealots do ultimately do pretty well here, even with that new ability. Yeah, okay, the immortals survive for slightly longer, but it's not that much better. As you can see, they're not going down.
Yep, nice chase here from Gurthang to be able to pick up a couple of immortals. This might be exactly what he needs, but continue to engage here directly into Probe's army. May not be the smartest decision, but looking at the upgrades here for the units is actually very interesting. Gurthang eking out a strong advantage in the Zealot versus Zealot because his Zealots have +2 armor and +1 attack, whereas Probe Zealots have +2 attack. Very, very interesting to see this difference, but oh my goodness. Colossus Omega. Looks like
Yep.
Probe is definitely taking
So,
the tech advantage here.
Colossi are a little bit different. They still have the same range and the same range upgrade, but they are massively nerfed in their damage. They do incredibly well against low health units, and that's about it.
Interesting.
They're just kind of a long-range siege unit now. You don't build an army around them because you will die if you try that.
Huh. Interesting. It looks like both our players trying to establish fourth bases here, but Probe is definitely much more on the offensive, taking a much more aggressive stance. Gurthang trying to bring the Zealots behind, but Probe able to micro those Colossi to keep his Gateway army and the Immortals in between the Colossi and those oncoming Zealots. Very, very nice micro coming out of our yellow Protoss player. And now Probe is looking to establish himself in this position and actually back off. Beautiful, beautiful maneuver here. He says, I shut down your economy for the next couple of minutes, whereas I have mine established already. I'm going to ramp myself up because I have the economic pressure. Very, very nice.
You can see that Gurthang is trying to go up into both air and disruptors. I think this might bite him a little bit, as I don't really think he's going to be... Oh, and High Templar. What? He's going to have no gas.
Interesting. Yeah, Gurthang is...
Or he's going to have no ability to refill this army. He has only gas right now. I see why he's doing this.
Yeah.
Okay. This could work, though. Like, the Surprise Void Raise is an extremely, extremely effective tactic in PvP.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is vulnerable to Void Raise. All of it. If you can get enough of them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The question is Probe going to be able to barge down the front with his Immortal Colossi heavy army and extra weapons of Zealots here to help supply and tank out those high DPS units, which are the Immortals, and of course the Colossi with really, really nice AoE effects.
Okay. Just thinking about it. The thing is, as time goes on here, Gurthang's army is actually just going to be very well prepared for this. This Disruptor is an interesting choice. It does need to be microed on the side with the new function that they have where they spit out an explosive round. They can actually be used with the army and just kind of use the army as protection. But it looks like he's going to attack from the side and do a decent amount of damage to 4 Stalkers.
Oh, that is so cool.
Those things have... Do they have a longer range? I don't remember them being able to go that far. Oh, nice backdoor attack of some Zealots here by Gurthang on Probe's face. He's going to go immediately because the Cybernetics Core, which is a beautiful maneuver, is going to really cut down on what he's able to create for a while.
Yeah, really interesting for maneuver. Gurthang here is actually completely shutting down this tech. He's going to go for the Cyberport and then immediately go for the Robo facility. This is going to halt Probe from being able to continue to produce out of those Robos. But that being said, Gurthang still needs to survive this oncoming onslaught from Probe. And it looks like Gurthang is being completely shut out, boxed out from fourth base. He's going to try and maneuver this Probe here to establish a fourth, but Probe going up to 5 bases, attacking this gold base here in the center bottom portion of...
Oh, he didn't take care of the attack in his base fully.
Oh my God.
They're killing stuff. They've killed a lot of pylons, and now they're taking out the infrastructure. Oh boy, I mean, no, it's still not going to be enough to take that out. I mean, he's not warping in enough units for this because he's got that upgrade disadvantage that we were talking about before. No armor upgrade still against 2-2. And yeah, he's going to clean this up, but Gurthang does have a shot here. He just needs to buy a little time. If he can get an equal-sized army, especially with the kind of tech that he's going for, he should be able to crush what Probe has.
Yeah, very nice maneuver. And we see now Gurthang is trying to establish this base. He has a very nice Archon heavy force that's going to work actually pretty well for tanking against the Immortals, but it looks like Probe now is starting to once again move his Doom, Death, and Dying ball a little slightly forward. Wow. Going up to now 2 Void Rays. These are going to be able to help out with sieging those tech-heavy units of Probe's army, because we only see a couple of Stalkers coming from Probe.
Okay. By the way, since that happened, I'm like kind of paranoid about moving in my chair, and I've been like sitting super still. Last time I cast with socks on, basically. Anyway, we have an engagement now occurring at the bottom part of the map. Protoss forces from, it looks like from Probe are just still a little bit too strong here. The Disruptor being moved in. Disruptor shot's going to reach the front lines. does do some damage, but it, on its own, there's really not enough firepower there, and it looks like still strong enough with a combination of Immortals and Colossi, just more than enough to do a lot of damage here. And hey, we have a Disruptor on Probe's side now.
Yay! Oh, awesome. Yeah, this is
Also
really
known as, I guess, the Distance Armor Stormcast. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah. The Siege Storm.
Siege Storm.
Oh, boom! Goes the dynamite.
Wait, why did 3 of those survive? Okay. Maybe it's still some bugs that you can fix with that.
Oh my goodness, it looks like now Probe is absolutely laying siege here. The last little skirmishes of Gurthang's army is now trying to engage here and get what damage they can get done, but unfortunately it looks like Probe's strong army units are just a little bit too strong. This is one of the difficult things whenever you're playing Protoss. The moment you lose your entire army, it's extremely difficult to reinforce if you don't have the supply. And here it looks like Gurthang tapping out, giving the really good mana. Look at that sportsmanship from Gurthang. Good games. Probe throwing down the heart. Well played. It looks like Probe is going to take this series 2-0.
Okay. Well, as we are now done with this match, we do have Gurthang here in the chat. It is up to you. Probe isn't here, since he was the victor of this match. Normally we would take him on. But you are here. You can come and talk to us on Discord about this match if you would like, but it's entirely optional. If you do, just get on Discord and go to the DKS server, join any of the voice channels, and I will move you over into ours.
Okay.
But while we're waiting for him to hear that, he says, okay, cool. While we're waiting for him to get on, yeah, that was a pretty solid series. And you can see, like, even PvP kind of feels a little bit different now. It's still true, though, that you have, like, a lot of really interesting rush tactics that exist. The new one being, of course, 4-gate Adept.
Oh my god, of course
it does exist.
Of course.
It's very strong in certain situations.
Oh, I bet. Adepts are they light units or are they armored? I'm actually not sure. I just know they have a ton of health and a ton of shields. Or they did. I actually have no idea. Man, this is so cool. Adepts. Legacy of the Void. Look it up.
Yes, Faye, there is one more series today. We'll be casting yours, actually.
Whoop,
next. Whoop. You versus Prinef.
Yes. Doom, Death, and Dying Ball. If it's dying, it shouldn't be that scary, Covert. You know what, Fade? You know what, Fade? Why don't you just go fade away? Oh!
Okay, Gert, good. You joined. There we go. We got him. Drag him down here.
Oh,
you should be able to unmute yourself. If you can't, wait, no, I have to give you a thing that'll let you talk. So
he has to give him
I created a special tag that I can throw on interviewers so that I can bring them in here without having to make them casters temporarily.
Yay!
Up here, put them down here. There you go.
Thing.
Hello.
Yay! Okay, so first of all, thank you very much for sending that match in. It was actually quite a bit of fun to watch.
Whew.
And very intense games. Love watching Legacy of the Void.
It's so hard.
That is the trade-off,
really
I suppose. Yeah. Oh, he definitely is. Yeah, you could see a lot of that skill transferring over, even with a race switch, even with playing a new game. He's still
his unit control is significantly better than mine. I think that's where I fell short in both games. Is that my two things. First game was my tech choices primarily, and then second game was a combination of my tech choices and my unit control.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, I think I would second that stuff. Which tech choices do you think were impacting you on game one? What would you have done differently looking at it now?
Game one, I was just slow. Straight up. I didn't proceed to tech up to something with splash damage fast enough. In fact, I don't think at any point in that game I built something that did splash damage.
Yeah.
And against Terran Bio, you splash damage. I needed to go up to probably Storm would have been my best bet, I think, because Colossus wouldn't have done very good against Liberators because that match was played before they nerfed Liberator range. And then Disruptor, I haven't figured out how to use properly yet. Like I got that one good shot off in the second game, but usually I have a lot of trouble using those because my unit control is not up to managing.
Yeah, it would be
these
really easy to blow up your own zealots with it,
specialist
especially.
units that can do enormous amounts of friendly fire. That's the big thing with them, is that you shoot them at your enemy, and then your enemy retreats, and then my zealots charge forward, and I'm having a lot of trouble keeping my zealots from running into the disruptor shot and dying.
Yeah, that's fair.
I lose more units to my own disruptors in ladder games than I kill with them. It's pretty bad.
So, Cover, what do you think? What's your take on that particular game?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think one of the biggest things were the Liberators. The Liberators were crazy. Oh my god. It was interesting, like that, the Marauder heavy army, and then Siege Tanks and Liberators. It just seemed everything Probe had was definitely like ground oriented. So question for you, Gurthang. How have you come across like someone who's mixed in Liberators? Do you have a usual tactic that you use to approach them?
And at that point, now let's keep in mind that since that match was played, they nerfed the Liberator range, so it can't siege up at such a great distance. So its maximum range in that game was 15. So no ground unit stood a chance of engaging ground unit that was being covered by a Liberator or engaging it from the ground. Now I think their starting range is like 7, and it can get upgraded to maybe 9, something like that. Or maybe it starts at 5 and gets upgraded to 9. It's significantly shorter. But at that time, I didn't have a good counter to Liberators other than to just try not to let it happen. But that didn't
Suicide blink in, try to go to her in the background.
If there's one or two of them, and they're a little out of position, you can blink around them. That didn't work great for me, but it worked okay. And you can get Void Rays against them.
Yes! I was hoping you'd say that. That's what I was thinking.
Void Rays work really well if they stay sieged up for too long, because they're a little bit faster than Void Rays, so they can run away, and they also do splash damage. So if you're using like 2 or 3 Void Rays, it's okay. But if you've got more Void Rays and they have more Liberators, the Liberators can do a lot of splash damage that you can't do, and that worries me. I'm not sure how that engagement would pan out, though, if you had a large group of Liberators versus a large group of Void Rays, but I don't see that happening.
It's a thought for a unit tester next week, or 2 weeks, rather.
Yeah,
but we'll get to that.
Oh, my goodness.
So Game 2. Game 2 is a PvP, this one a little bit differently. What do you think about Game 2?
I think in Game 2, the first mistake I made was as soon as that Oracle came in, I did not immediately say, oh, that's probably proxied, and I should go find it and kill it. Because that would have solved a lot of problems. He held down that third base position from me for way too long in that game, and did way too much damage with the 2 Oracles, and did way too much with those 2 Void Rays. There's no reason that I should have let him get all of that. No reason. I should have been able to shut down that Stargate before he was able to produce those Void Rays. I should have killed it by the time he was done with the second Oracle at the latest. But I didn't go look. But I just didn't go out and look for it. I shoot away the first Oracle and then did not proceed to go out on the map and find and kill the Stargate. And I think that's just me not being used to the proxy positions yet. Because you don't see a whole lot of proxies on ladder. People just aren't doing it a whole It's not like at some points in Heart of the Swarm where every other game you'd get proxied by something. It's not as common, I feel like. So I'm not used to looking for them on all the maps.
Interesting.
Okay. So, Cobra Murphin,
Yeah.
again, what do you think?
So something I forgot to say, I totally loved what you did where when you built a proxy pylon, you built a gateway on it. That was genius. That was so cool to see. And that happened in the first game, sorry. But like, oh man, that's so cool to increase the warp in time. I mean, decrease it rather than not increase it.
We don't want to do that.
Yeah, ooh, let's make my units warp in slower. Oh man. That being said, kind of interesting, like, especially in PvP, do you usually have like a general unit composition that you try and aim for by a certain time in Legacy of the Void, or like, because I saw you go for the Zealot Charge and that made me really happy, made me really excited. I love Zealot Charge.
I think that under certain circumstances the Zealot Charge can work against Immortals, but you need something that can get damage on the Immortals first, because here's the thing about that shield ability, is that it goes up, gives them 200 hit points, but it only lasts a couple of seconds, and then it has a 30-second cooldown before it'll fire off again.
Wow. So a legitimate tactic would be to do something like throw a storm on them, activate all the barriers, and then attack after that.
You need something to get them all to go off, and it doesn't even have to be like right before the engagement, because the cooldown is really long.
Interesting.
It's a very slow cooldown. So I don't know, like in the first game you might have noticed that Immortal that came out and it got hit by the Zealot, that prompted up the shield.
Yeah.
And it got away. But when it went and engaged the army after that, or I guess it was a Marine that shot it, he was playing Terran, and after that, it got to that engagement between my second and third, and the shield wouldn't go up because it was still on cooldown.
Interesting.
So that's something to keep in mind, that just throwing Zealots at Immortals won't work, because for those first those first several attacks, they're just going to get absorbed. But if you hit them with something first, some ranged something or other, even just Colossus, I guess, would probably work too. You could Colossus kite back a little bit, wait for the shields to go down, then move in.
Interesting. Okay.
But I wasn't able to. I'm very bad at executing on this, because all of that revolves around good unit control, and I constantly mess up my unit control because my mouse and keyboard accuracy is not incredible. I might even go so far as to say it is terrible sometimes.
Oh man, you should look up Day 9 Daily number 252. It's the hotkeys, APM, and mouse and keyboard control.
I have
like
watched
my favorite
that
one.
It has more to do with the fact that my hands, I'm just not a terribly dexterous person.
Okay.
I just have trouble with that sort of thing.
Interesting. All right, that's cool. Wow.
Anyway.
It makes you wonder why I play a game like this so much. I spend so much time playing a game that revolves around always hitting the right keys, and yet I probably misclick and fat finger stuff more often than anyone I know.
Yeah. Oh, also, I have one more question for you, Gurthang.
Okay.
When you dropped with the War Prism, that was beautiful. Oh my god.
I did like that. For a little while there, I was like, this might be it. We might be able to do it.
We might do it. Oh man. But that was a really cool focus fire where you took out the Cyber Core and then the Ropo facility to shut down that Immortal production and the tech for like a minute or two from your opponent. That was really cool to see. And then like how pervasive your units were because you had that early upgrade. So like hats off to you, man. That was beautiful. I love counterattacks like that. Oh yeah.
I think that could have been slightly improved by me hitting the Robo and then going down the ramp and doing some kind of economic damage. Because if I remember correctly, his army was still not back by then, and I got in another warp in of Zealots before they got back. So I should have, instead of trying to kill gateways and pylons, perhaps I should have done economic damage.
I mean, I also thought it was really smart though that you went for like the gateways and pylons and stuff, because it looks like at that point in the game, Probe actually had a slight army advantage over you, and so you sort of like you removed units from your army by warping into his base and then shutting down his ability to continuously reinforce his army with more zealots, right? Because you took out the pylons and the cyber. I think that was actually really, really smart of you. I think that was great. Yeah. Because also he had like a third and fourth base at that time.
There he goes.
Bye.
Disappeared. That's not good. Still online.
Illuminati confirmed.
There we go.
Welcome back.
Where did I go? I think
he disappeared.
There were 2 instances of this open in Chrome for me, so I closed one, and then it kicked me.
Oh, interesting.
That's okay. Problem solved.
Oops.
Anyway, I think that makes us more or less done with this one. We are going to be casting Fade versus Prinef next. I will be casting that with Mr. Zero Lambda. Thank you, Cobra Muffin, for helping us out today. It's always
thank you.
Yeah.
It's always a blast. Dude, I love casting StarCraft to you guys. You guys are amazing.
Great. Thank you.
I love you too, buddy.
Oh. Morning dumps.
Right. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and then we will start the next match at 20 after. Freaking shit. 3
math.
seconds if you want.
It's math.
I don't know. It's math.